We are live. Welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us this evening. Sorry we are a few minutes late getting started. So we'll ask for approval of this evening's agenda. Any additions or deletions to the...
Bottom of your iPad there.
Oh, yes. Okay, great. Alrighty, any disclosures of interest this evening? See any delegations here? So we will move to resolution number 331-19, moved by Councillor McGrath, seconded by Councillor Kraus, that the minutes of the Council and Committee of the Whole meeting held September 24th, 2019 be accepted as circulated. All in favor? Resolution number 332-19, moved by Councillor Mullins, seconded by Councillor Staffirik, that the Council of the Township of Schreiber support the resolution of the Municipality of Chatham, Kent, with respect to provincial funding cuts to Legal Aid Ontario. All in favor? Resolution number 333-19, moved by Councillor Kraus, seconded by Councillor Mullins, that checks issued on the general bank account in the month of September 2019 in the amount of $730,000, $413.33 for general accounts payable be approved and ratified. All in favor? Resolution number 334-19, moved by Councillor Staffirik, seconded by Councillor McGrath, that bank debits issued on the general bank account in the month of September 2019 in the amount of $78,146.79 for payroll be approved and ratified. All in favor? Resolution number 335-19, moved by Councillor Kraus, seconded by Councillor Mullins, that resolution 282-19 is rescinded in its entirety.
Can I ask just one more question about that?
Mm-hmm.
The reason for rescinding it was because there was no amounts in there. Is that what I understood from the letter?
Yeah, we needed a schedule of payments,
But,
and
yeah.
we're still trying to determine just the final cost, because there was one, essentially one invoice we're waiting to hear from the vendor to close on, so that we're not responsible for it. We're just trying to get that in writing.
So we just have to remove this one then to
Yeah.
remove them.
All those in favor? Resolution number 336-19, moved by Councillor Staffirik, seconded by Councillor McGrath, that bylaw 43-2019, being a bylaw to appoint an acting clerk and to rescind bylaw 12-2014, be given first, second, third, and final reading and enacted. All in favor? So that brings close our council portion of the meeting. Wow. The Committee of the Whole. Number 1, property tax write-offs.
Is Nathan gonna explain what this is all basically about and how it's received?
Yeah, it's essentially MPAC responding to people is essentially if they want to check if do a reassessment on their property. And in these cases, it looks like essentially the MPAC value of their properties ended up going lower. So that means that our tax base, which regards to our entire tax base, was essentially reduced by
Is it the total amount or the?
total amount.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not the value assessment.
Yeah.
And these properties, we could actually look them up to find out what they were if we wanted to know? They can't be discussed, I guess, openly.
They can be, yeah, they can be discussed openly. That's why they're just there as roll numbers. Yeah.
So what is the difference in classes, RT and CT?
Right.
Residential, commercial.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
That's why I was curious about what the properties
Yeah,
were, but we can't.
I do like the
I
question.
guess that too, but, yeah. And the current value assessment, and what exactly does that mean? What it's assessed at
Yep,
in
that's
2019?
the assessed value, yep.
For all of those accounts?
Well, they're,
5?
right.
Like on the third one down, the reduction was quite substantial on that current value assessment. It's like, you know, what were the taxes on it originally? To get that kind of a reduction, like,
Well, it's.
I mean, what kind of property pays that kind of taxes first of all, and then, I guess it's a commercial tax, but how would you get that kind of a reduction? That's what kind of stood out for me.
I know, that's it there. However they determined it, right, with their.
Yeah, okay. But we would normally get an explanation of why that would be, why that result.
Maybe it has to do with the state of the building.
Yeah, but we do get an explanation, correct, on why they check.
Marlene, do we get an explanation on that from?
Sure, so RT, you're right, is residential taxable and CT is commercial fully taxable. So you were right on those short
Yes,
forms. The commercial, so what happens is the request for reconsideration went in and the minutes of settlement come back from MPAC based on updated structure data generally on those things, so it would be updated. In the case of commercial, it may be, because commercial could be, the assessment could also be related to the business activity as well. So if it could have reduced, like the amount of activity with the business could have reduced and reduced the assessed value as well.
Could it be a lowering of the property condition? Like if the condition of the property was saying going derelict or something, would that be justification for changing the amount?
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions on that? Okay, Director of Operations report. Any questions to Red?
I have a question. On where is it? Looking at the wrong thing here, but it was about the thermostat control in the building. The thermostat control?
In this building.
Yeah, it was, I know at our last meeting, there was a problem with accessing the software or the computer controls.
Yes.
And you were saying that maybe Claude Darling could get access to it somehow. Otherwise, we were gonna have to change it out.
The individual thermostats are still working as they're
Yeah.
supposed to, but if the computer program goes down with it, we may have a little bit more of a problem. But so far it's been working fine.
control.
Yeah, so the question is, and I know from our last meeting is that the answer was, I found it funny that nobody could access the computer program. This is, the owner of the business died, passed away, and he was the only one that had access to it, so.
I've since asked Polar if they had any connections with that company, if they could find out anything for me, and they gave me the same answer.
Okay, so it's
You have to
the
change
same
the
answer,
computer
you
program,
have to change it all out then.
yes.
Okay.
But for now, the system seems to be keeping it warm and cool as it should.
Okay.
Any other questions there? And number 3, the water treatment, wastewater treatment report, and Director of Operations.
I think the main thing here is that the clarifier that's needed for the sewer treatment plant there, the clarifier is at the border, and it's gonna ultimately cost a total of $15,553. And the recommendation is to purchase the clarifier at and also to increase the credit limit for the Director of Operations to allow this purchase. And then after this purchase is done, we will reset the credit limit back to the $10,000 upfront payment.
Everybody fine with that?
Just to cover the cost.
Yeah, just to cover the cost of it. Okay? Yeah. Thank you. And the Arena Ice Plant startup. Any questions on that?
Yeah, how's it going? Because I heard they were there all weekend, eh?
Yes, they got the lines.
Good news?
Everything's going according to plan so far.
Looks excellent.
Yeah,
You guys have done a great job.
yeah, they have.
So we're on schedule to have her open when we want.
It seems to be, yes.
Very good.
Just one kind of issue that was kind of brought up, and it was with the figure skating group. They had a request. The last day for ice is going to be on March 30th, 2020. The figure skating club has requested to keep the ice until April 6, 2020, and Junior B has agreed to move their request for to play their games on the weekend of March 20. From March 20th to the 23rd to allow the figure skating group to have their ice show on that weekend of the 27th. The only other available weekend is March 13th to 15th. And the issue here is that the approximate cost to keep the arena open to April 6th is going to be about $3,500 in electricity and propane alone. So.
What's the particular reason for this additional week?
It's
To accommodate the figure skating,
accommodate.
they want to have their event in April, right, or something? Yeah.
Well, I hope they don't say they'll try May 1st next year. I mean, it's always been late March that they did their thing. They started painting ice and all that, like, I don't know.
That's a big chunk of money, $3,500 to keep it open for another week.
Yeah.
Traditionally, does the arena actually close at the end of March? No.
Yes.
We're still in the middle of winter. You'd think in a place like this, you'd try and keep it open a lot longer, but
I think last year was
it's a
the
cost
only
thing too, right?
exception where we ended up in April.
Because all the hockey tournaments are over by then, basically, that's why.
By mid-March or so.
Yeah.
Right, like, old timers were generally done, NBC is generally done mid-March. And then in the minor hockey, and then after that's shut down, then the figure skaters start painting ice. And I don't know, I always thought it's been pretty much on the same schedule year after year, but.
Did they give a reason why they wanted it extended by a week?
That's, I think, just ideally based on their schedule, and it would be most convenient for them, I think, to do their show.
Isn't there also a March break involved? Because most of those kids are in school, and so the March break is towards the end of March this year, isn't it? So maybe that's
That could be the case too. It's also there.
March.
middle of
It's always
March.
the same week.
There are also in certain people in that are also participating in some competition and might not be available on, you know, the set free weekends to do it.
Could we try and get a bit more information from them?
Yeah.
Before we make a decision on it, you know, because
You can ask them to write a letter. Like,
Yes, yeah.
Lots of time.
Okay, yeah, for sure, there's lots of time to do that, yeah. Okay, number 5, Venture Sand, RFP. Recommendation is to go with,
Recommendation there is to go with Valentino Trucking, be awarded the contract. I think it would be a total of about $7,800.
are we fine with that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sounds good.
okay. And bylaw enforcement officer report, any questions on that?
That's just on point number 6 right now.
Yes,
Yep.
yeah. Okay, if there's no questions on that, we'll move to number 7, for the other report.
Well, that's no parking,
Across from the school.
business.
I guess my question there would be, how wide can a driveway be? Is there a defined measurement for a driveway?
In terms of the area which can be considered a driveway, and this is from what I discussed again with our bylaw enforcement and all like that, we don't really have, what do you say, the only thing that kind of limits the size is the lot coverage covered under the zoning, which, you know, would specify how much of your lot you can cover or develop. And that would essentially cover how much land is used in a driveway. So provided that, you know, you check the total lot coverage of a house and the driveway can't go over a certain limit.
So really, you could have your whole lot line from one side to the other could be considered a driveway.
Technically, if that's the case, yeah, we don't have very, what's it called, stringent regulations regarding driveways. As to where they can be, you know, located or anything like
Yeah.
that, not really.
Yeah, so people really would, I mean, anybody that's parking would look at someone's house and kind of determine where the driveway is.
Yep.
And if it looks like a driveway, then that's the
That's
perception.
But there was pictures sent in
Yeah.
regards to this, and you could see the vehicle was not as far beyond the driveway as it should have been.
But if you looked at the picture, the vehicle was parked on a bit of gravel and a bit of grass.
Yeah, we parked in front.
And my point there would be, it's gotta be defined, either
Yeah.
defined by a border, or get the grass out of there and put the gravel in and
Are they all the
be
same?
more defined.
Oh, these are all
Yeah,
separate
because
ones.
no one would know that typically someone would park there because it's actually in front of the house and not.
Yeah, see here, it's actually on
On the
grass, eh?
driveway.
So it doesn't look like it's
So-
part of the, but that could be a driveway.
Could be, but I would,
Parking
I
area.
would know that. I mean, if I'm parking there, I wouldn't know that that's.
No, and that's the
I
thing.
mean, that could be considered a driveway too, or part of it,
Yeah.
depending on the lot coverage, as
Yeah.
David said.
Yeah. And because there's no paving there, you can't really tell, so someone would park there, thinking
So,
it's,
I don't know what to fix it.
I think like the issue is it's a very clearly defined driveway, right?
Yeah.
And then the other one has a bit of grass on it, which may be what people are finding tricky.
Yeah.
but they're probably pulling up to the end of that railing, thinking that's the property there. But you know how most people drive as well, some people aren't very considerate, they might not actually allow for that extra space.
Yeah.
So, I mean, why doesn't the property owner put up a sign saying this is my driveway, like can define it somehow?
According to
there-
our bylaws and all, property owners can do that.
Yeah.
And I think
That's
that's
what
been
I-
the case, I think, with regards to situations like this in larger municipalities where you get kind of large corporate offices and all, they've definitely put up a sign saying, you know, this is our private driveway, do not block.
Yeah.
And is it allowed to also do like a curb that would go to the road to define where the driveway is? Like say there, if there was a curb there,
That's what
but then
we're
you have no
saying.
parking curb to curb, it doesn't have to be a sign.
That would define it, wouldn't
That
it?
would be
Yeah.
fine.
Definition of-
Get the grass out of there.
Yeah.
Put gravel in there.
So that's all.
And maybe make a border. I'm not saying they have to,
Yeah.
but maybe make a border and it would be more defined.
That's all on the owner of the property.
Yeah, in the winter time, it's definitely gonna be defined pretty much by the snow blowing.
Oh, yeah,
Mm.
Yeah.
Like, we went through this, for a time when the medical center was built, but everything's pretty good now, but
Yeah,
I know what they're going through, but the first thing I seen when I looked at that picture was, they got to define the driveway.
yeah,
And once the driveway's defined, then I think the solution would be that, like, the people would see,
Yeah.
and if the owner needs to put a sign up, then.
yeah, it would be, that's what I would do, I mean, if it's ticking me off, you want to take.
Well,
They don't need our approval to put
No.
a sign up on their driveway to tell them not to park there. They can go ahead and do that anytime.
I feel for them too, because I've been there, done it with the medical center, but it's good now.
Yeah,
People learn.
Could they not approach the school and ask the school to send out a message to tell people to be
I
considerate?
think they have.
Yeah.
Oh, did that
I
happen?
have, if you read their little clip
Mm.
that they sent you.
Okay, any other questions on that? So, community economic development meeting minutes.
So there were a couple of recommendations. First recommendation there, that the council of the Township of Schreiber approve our community maps project and allow for the Community Economic Development Department to order our completed community maps from the print shop once the final map templates and designs have been completed. So it's just an approval for the project at this point, not endorsing, because there's no payments and all prices haven't been determined, so it's just an endorsement for the project to go ahead.
Okay.
Well, the plans for the project to go ahead.
Yeah. Everybody fine with that?
yeah.
The next recommendation is that the council of the Township of Schreiber attend and approve the planning behind a SWOT analysis workshop with Anne-Marie Goretzky regarding community vision and planning, foundation towards our new strategic plan, and supporting components to help address the priority outcome we're looking towards with implementing a community improvement plan. The dates to be determined. A SWOT analysis is just to determine the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats pertaining to the community, and this was part of what the Economic Development Committee was trying to plan ahead, because they wanted to find some sort of strategic vision for the community improvement plan and once it is put forward, right, what is the strategic goal of it?
And who would attend that?
The mayor and council. I
This is
guess.
mayor and council, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, everybody fine with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Third recommendation, that the council of the Township of Schreiber and members of the Community Economic Development Committee take part in the Community Improvement Plan Information Session workshop that will be created and led by Dominic Charbonneau and Candace Campbell at a future date.
Fine with that too. Everybody else fine with that?
Yep.
Yeah.
Number 4.
That the Council of the Township of Schreiber and the Community Economic Development Department develop a plan to ensure that the canopy does not become a haven for pigeons to nest in once the pavilion is fully built upon the completion of the downtown revitalization project.
What does that pavilion have to do with the canopy? They're two different areas.
I think that might have been a typo there, which they had, but yeah, I don't think it's the pavilion, it's referred to the canopy.
It refers to the rail interpretive center, I believe.
Oh, I thought it was the subway.
Well, I mean, it's gonna refer to both.
Yeah, exact, same problem.
Yeah, the roof that's going over there now.
Yes, that's
It's
true.
an ideal spot for the
Yeah.
pigeons to roost, so. But I think we're
That's
we need to be
something-
aware of it and then try and
What's that?
It's gonna
curtail
refer
it
to both.
somehow.
Yeah.
Is everybody fine with that then? Alrighty, so next up is Schreiber Youth Committee meeting. Any questions on that? Kids doing, Kim?
Kids are doing really well. They had a meeting last week, which unfortunately was tied into what's happening. I wasn't able to attend it, and they didn't have enough people come to it anyway, so it's been rescheduled.
Oh, okay.
That happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
A couple of people had last minute obligations and had to pull out, so it was all right. They're doing really, really well, that's
Yeah.
for sure.
They
They
seem
need to
to
try and get more people involved, and it's
Yeah.
hard. It's got a lot to do, especially now that it's school.
Yeah, that's very good. Provincial government funding, library associations.
So essentially, just a bit of a summary there, was that budget cuts have resulted in the Ontario Library Services North to reduce 5 staff and annual conference and consultation services. And the Ontario Library Services North will continue to subsidize postage for interlibrary loan and courier systems, which was very cost effective. The announcement for the reduction of other services is still pending. And I think the request for the library is that we draft a letter, same as kind of the template that was provided with Nipigon, to show our support for this matter in terms of,
Yeah.
I guess not support, but to voice our kind of
Concerns.
concerns.
Yeah, for sure. Everybody fine with that then? We send that letter off to them?
Yep.
Okay. Is that all the same?
There was one with the, I know that was explaining the cuts, okay.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll send that support letter off then. Okay, Schreiber Volunteer Fire Department, activity report, any questions there for the chief?
Where's he hiding? Jan?
There he is.
Has all the training been booked and done now, is it all?
It's all booked.
Yeah.
There's still a course going later this month, and we've got one person going to an instructor course in the marathon in December. It's all booked.
Okay. Any other questions on the other reports? Report on automatic aid for fire services agreement.
That's just a renewal, John?
Yes.
Basically.
The previous one ran for 2 years, and I'm suggesting we renew it for another 3 years.
Yeah.
There's, yeah, sounds good, everybody fine on that?
For
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. Okay. Report on user fees bylaw.
How is it working right now for the? A fee, it's more like a, it's not a fee, it's a fine, isn't it? Are you talking about things like the nuisance alarms and the false alarms and things like that?
Well, a fee is a lot different from a fine.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a fine is issued for a violation of a law or a regulation.
Uh-huh.
These are more of a fee
Mm-hmm.
in that, you know, you could view the one for multiple false alarms as kind of a monetary penalty.
Mm-hmm.
What we're suggesting in this one, like a lot of places will start giving you this administrative fee after your second or third alarm. We're suggesting the fourth on this, so it's really, to have 4 false alarms in 1 month where your fire alarm went off would be a significant problem with your fire alarm maintenance.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you'd have to have it not being inspected at all.
Mm-hmm.
You know, right now the regulations stipulate that you have to have it inspected every 12 months for a fire alarm system.
How often would that happen? You would get
Well, we've got a building in town right now that's a problem, and it's only on its 3rd one, or it only went off 3 times in September. So the odds of it getting to 4, well, it's possible, but it's pretty unlikely in this town.
I think they'd want to get it fixed after the first one. Save some money.
Yes, and that is an ongoing thing
Yeah.
through the inspection process. A lot of these are based on what's going on everywhere else in the province as well. You know, previously a lot of these inspections we weren't charging for them, but that said, in 2014 when they mandated that we have inspectors that have the inspection course, it now takes quite a while to train somebody to do these. We have to send them away to Gravenhurst for anywhere from 4 to 8 weeks to take the courses. And now we're asking them to sign their name to inspection reports for insurance companies, real estate lawyers, things like that. And the reality is we're asking them right now to do it for nothing. So this is my suggestion as far as fees we should be looking at.
How does everybody feel about that?
And these fees go back to the fire department?
Well, that would be up to you guys.
Yeah, because it doesn't
Really?
say where it goes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
makes sense.
The so-called MTO rate now, can you explain that a bit?
Yes, certainly. The MTO sets the rate for highway calls. They do that every November. They give it an increase according to the, you know, the general rate of inflation. They usually do that in November, October, November. So I'm expecting it any time.
Okay.
This is what we bill the MTO per truck per hour out on the highway.
Yeah,
That rate,
okay.
and that is what a lot of places use as a basis for determining the value of a trucking crew.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, any other questions for the chief? Okay, thank you very much. Oh yeah, the bylaw comes forward for the fees? Yes. I think we should bring a bylaw forward.
But then, like I was saying, should we not determine where these fees go as well? Should that not be part of that bylaw?
Yeah, we can talk about that too. Unless you want to decide right now, whether you think the fire department should get it, or?
Well,
What's been the past practice for fees?
I know in the case of like the fire permits, when you want to do a fire permit, like I imagine that's like for a weekend having a fire in your backyard. That's usually paid to the town, isn't it? They'll come in, they'll get a permit, they pay the $10 and that goes to the town.
Yeah.
So that kind of sets us a bit of a precedent there, but in some of these things it would, it would aid in the budget for this,
I mean,
they're the ones responding to these events, so it'd be nice if they got paid for that or something kept for it. Yeah.
with regards to the fees and where they're gonna go, it would probably be good if, again, our treasury department has an opportunity to review that.
And bring forth a recommendation.
Or, yeah, we can probably look at the best place to put that money.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, no problem.
Alrighty. The next ones are all the aqua reports for the wastewater and water treatment. There's a whole whack of them, but are there any questions on any individual ones?
Just got these huge reports. And then understanding a lot of it.
That's the other thing, yeah. Well, I'm sure at any time, if there are any questions, we can come in and or talk to Corey or somebody. Okay, then,
Corey at the plant.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
Water plant.
yeah, water plant Corey, not public works Corey.
Right,
Or fire department Corey.
Or fire
Or
department.
other Corey.
I forgot about him, yeah.
Unless you gotta answer a question on the distribution, it might be Cory.
Yeah, it might be, yeah,
Mm.
that's right. Okay, so that brings us up to question period. Are there any questions this evening?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I have a question here for you. Several questions probably, but I'm gonna give it to my real estate advisor here to ask the questions. Is that okay?
Sure.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor and what I call new council members, as opposed to the last term of council people. How is it that since last August of 2018, the past council and now the new council has not yet been able to resolve the zone issue over Sunrise Lane? But basically, I want to know, can anybody answer that?
What do you mean by zone issue? Because that is,
The seasonal zone issue.
yeah.
What is our season?
Mhm.
There's a seasonal zone, a seasonal residential zone covering two parts of Schreiber. One that's closer to Schreiber Beach, and the other, which is all private property, on what we call Sunrise Lane. Much of the property that's on the beach area is belonging to some individuals, but a very large part of that is owned by the township. So my question is, how is it that when we ask what our season is, that it still has not yet been answered to us? Yet, the other side of town seems to have the understanding that they have a seasonal residential under winter being off season, as we know it in tourist area, and winter being, or pardon me, summer being on. So first of all, there's a differential, and I don't know why council can't say that we are emphatically under the same understanding as the other side of town. We don't understand why there's two different measuring sticks for the zone.
Is the lack of clarity affecting your use of the property?
Absolutely.
Why? And how so? Are we talking about access or the use? Because as far as use, seasonal property, you can use it at any time.
But
It
what
comes
is-
down to access to the roads going in and out of the place.
Well, we don't have a problem with access.
Well, then what's the problem? If you don't have a problem with access, then why does it matter if it's seasonal or not? Because you
It
could-
matters because there are 5 properties that are at odds with what regards the seasonal issue is. And we can't answer that. Council has said to us, we don't know how to answer your question, because it doesn't affect just us being represented here tonight. It affects other members who live there. We need to know, and we don't know why you can't tell us what a season is. Is season winter on, or is season summer on?
But again, does season, is the lack of definition of that term affecting your use of the property?
Yes,
Or are
it
you more
is.
concerned with other people's use of the property than your own use?
It affects both of us,
Huh?
because there's private property and there is private property. And different people have different understandings of what seasonal use will be. Why are we different and not being able to categorize the same season zoning status as the other side of Schreiber? Why has council said there's a difference? We don't get it.
Because the other side you're referring to, that's our road, that's our property. We have the right to put the barricade up there whenever we want.
Right, and the
Up there, it's private
property
property.
there is private, but we're under the same zone. We're under the same zone. We're under seasonal residential.
But you put the barricade up, you're blocking yourself.
We're
from
not
going in
talking
there.
about that. We're
What are
not
you
talking
talking
about the
about?
barricade. We're talking about what is the zone with regards to the season. Are we going to be summer people on Sunrise Lane, or are we going to be winter people on Sunrise Lane?
You can choose whatever one you want.
There is no definition.
There is no definition.
Well, then why has the town council decided for the other side? What, on the other side of the
The
town?
other side of the lake is residential, don't forget.
Pardon
The
me?
other side of Walker's Lake is residential, Pam.
I'm not talking about Walker's Lake. I'm talking about the beach area where the seasonal residential is also applicable.
It's about road access though, I mean, I have a cottage down there, so I can speak about it. I don't have road access down there, it's a seasonal road, and it's, the season for that road is when there's, as I understand it, is whenever there's no snow on the road.
It's strictly a safety issue.
It's liability issue.
Yeah, I have access when there's no snow or ice on the road.
Yes, so you're saying it's a liability issue as well?
Well, in the case
Liability
of
for
So
the
then
town,
for the public.
if town council can't make a decision on, let's say, road access in winter on the private property known as Sunrise Lane, what position does liability come under? If that private property is supposed to give not only us access to it, but when we aren't using it, other people at our expense liability-wise are being forced basically to say, if you want other people to use your road in the winter, then you're liable. But we're liable in the summer too when the roads are there. Anyway, we have one small road or one long road, liability rests on my party.
So what
And
are you
your
asking
concern
us
would
to
be
do?
the same.
So what are you asking us to do? If
I'm
this is
asking
a-
you to
No,
make
you're
it-
asking us for legal opinions, which
No, I'm
we are
not.
not going to give.
I'm not asking you that. I'm asking you, as our council, and after putting
I'm
the
sorry, I'm
zone.
not your council.
Our council, I'm representing
He's representing
this
me.
party.
Mr. Mayor, she's representing me, okay?
I'm representing this party. He asked for permission for me to speak.
Would this come down to a zoning issue? What if the area was rezoned as residential?
Thank
Would
you.
that solve all the problems?
Why don't we just go back to the rural that they took us out of?
Well,
That's the
that is
question.
That wouldn't solve anything.
Well, we wouldn't have this problem.
Well, certainly you would.
I wouldn't be
Why
here
wouldn't
speaking
you?
on this.
Why wouldn't you?
Because when we live in a rural zone, or pardon me, yeah, a rural zone, there was no issue about winter or summer. None.
There was no issue for 100 years about that.
Thank you. That's where we should have stayed.
Well, we didn't change it.
Who changed it? Council.
Changed what?
Were you in charge of the zoning bylaw change for Sunrise Lane from rural and seasonal cottage to cover those properties there with what we call now seasonal residential? Were you not on council then when
No.
that was passed?
No.
Yes, sir, you were.
Mr. Mayor, if I may just
Certainly.
put a point in here, this is all these matters and questions are being dealt with our legal counsel, so our lawyer will be looking into all these questions, and I have responded to both parties with regards to these kinds of questions so far.
It's been 1 year already, and we're still waiting for council to make up their mind of whether we are zoned over a winter period predominantly or a summer. And it gives us all a lot of problems that we're not going to bring up at this meeting. So please hurry that decision along. Thank you.
there any advantages to open up discussions later about the zoning as rural or finding out why? No. I think,
This, we have talked about before, this is a legal issue, and we will get our attorney on it
So we're
to
waiting.
answer all the questions.
when the
Yes.
lawyers come back, we
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, as far as our zoning bylaw goes, the definition, like I said, for seasonal residential is listed under two separate places, right? You have seasonal residential zone, which says one cottage and one guest sleeping cabin on one lot used on a seasonal basis without any year-round municipally owned road access and uses, buildings and structures, accessories thereto, including boathouses, pump houses, and saunas. And in the other definition for cottage, cottage means a detached building used as an occasional and seasonal residential dwelling for recreation, rest, or relaxation by one household, but not occupied continuously or as a principal residence or as a year-round permanent dwelling. It has nothing to do with particular time periods. It's referring to seasonal in the sense is referring to essentially not year-round permanent dwelling with regards to properties.
But that's the problem, because a season could be 3 months, if you take fall, winter, spring, summer, or a season could be whatever you define. You could say my season is 11 months.
Exactly. It's the whole point of the definition of seasonal is to state essentially, with regards to the township's interpretation, that when there's snow, for instance, on certain, whenever snow is falling and is doesn't allow certain road conditions, let's say, are not
That would restrict access.
would restrict access due to the snow, then essentially the township, at least from our view, is saying that due to the seasonal residential bylaw, we can't essentially allow vehicular access during that time. So for us, it's the season when there's snowfall. That's how it's pertinent to us, and also it's the, it's taken in with regards to municipally year-round road access.
But let's look at the condition where people have snow machines and they want to go down to Schreiber Beach, for instance. There's a barricade that's put up there, and that's primarily to prevent liability, so you don't take your car down and slide off the edge and the town is responsible. But there's nothing to stop you from skidooing down there. There's nothing to stop you from, in the spring, taking an SUV down, or a 4x4 or something down there. And those things are at your own risk, I would imagine. Like, what's the difference between taking a snow machine down that road, down Asbestos Road towards the beach? You take a snow machine in winter, because you can get by the blockade, and is that any different than driving your car down? Is there not still a responsibility? Is that liability or that responsibility, should there not be a sign there that says use at own risk, and then that responsibility falls on the user that decides to use that road?
Yep, that's a good point. Exactly.
Because I can't understand why the road is blocked for cars, but 8 months of the year here, everybody's on snow machines, and people, you could hop on your snow machine and drive down to Schreiber Beach in the winter, and you're not allowed to not do that. And if you wanted to go down there and you had accommodation there, you could stay there as well.
I wouldn't say you're not allowed to do that. That's why the concrete barriers are placed where they are.
Yeah, but we're talking about access of roads. So if that's allowed, then anywhere where there's road access in the winter, where roads would technically be blocked from vehicles, we're talking about what defines a vehicle now. Is a snowmobile a vehicle? Because then what would stop somebody
With this
from...
regard, it's for cars, because cars wouldn't be able to safely get to the destination, right, with the snow.
So if a road was blocked, I could still take my snow machine on it.
Technically, that would be fine, right?
Is there any liability to the municipality for off-road vehicles using the road?
The municipality's general liability insurance rate would cover most of that. And, it's weighing out the risks, right? And in this case, if it's, a vehicle going on any road, you need to have a plowed road, essentially. Plowed road, salted road, whatever it is, a dirt road.
For an automobile.
Yeah, something that that presets the condition that the road is safe for a car.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you're talking about someone walking on that or using their, four-wheeler or skidoo, that's, a different vehicle, which of course has less risk of essentially getting into a situation.
Some would argue they're more dangerous, though. I mean, how many people get into situations on an open lake on a skidoo?
Yeah,
Yeah.
no kidding.
That's just something that struck me, because it seems that we're talking about accessibility to places that could be defined seasonal, and yet there's no definition of mobility into and out of those areas, as in the difference between what we define
Well, that's something I guess we'll have to ask our attorney.
but I think that's something that should be mentioned.
Any other questions? Okay, we'll move into communications then. Anything under communications that stands out? Public library, invitation to open house.
What's that, this Town of Marathon, number 7, Dave?
That's about that.
Certarus?
Certarus, the outfit that's trying to promote compressed natural gas instead of liquid natural gas.
Well, that's LNG business.
But, well, no, it's not, it's compressed, it's a different process that we're not looking at.
So that would be like, having a tank in your backyard. That's right too, I think.
Propane?
No,
Similar
natural
to-
gas.
Oh, but natural gas, yeah.
But that would be, propane is compressed. It's liquid.
Yeah.
So if you had.
Liquid and compressed are two different things.
Yeah, so if you had a tank in your backyard of compressed LNG, how long would it last compared to a tank of similar size that has liquid propane? It seems to me it wouldn't last as long.
No, that's apparently liquid natural gas, it's 600 times more.
Yeah, considerably, yeah.
Otherwise, everybody would be doing it,
Yeah.
trucking compressed gas into town and distributing that way. And I guess, it obviously doesn't make sense, or it would have been done.
Yeah.
That's my.
Yeah, we're,
Anyway.
support the letter, or it's there for our information.
Well, wasn't that something that was gonna happen in Red Rock? Was there an alternative, proposal to build other than the LNG facility? Wasn't there another?
I believe that's
Was it
probably
compressed
the
out?
one
Compressed?
going, yeah.
Could be. I know that, I believe that the mill in Terrace Bay had looked at compressed too, and they didn't know it.
Didn't make sense.
Anything else?
The only one I can see there is the last one where they're still talking about amalgamation in municipalities, in the Tinglishing.
Oh, yeah.
We've supported.
We supported a different request for that.
Yeah.
I mean, we've already kind of supported it.
But it was with a different
Yeah,
town.
for sure,
Yeah.
for sure.
Now, this SP, this number 3, where the SPCA is no longer providing law enforcement, is that gonna put a burden on the municipality?
That's
somehow?
essentially what they're trying to say. I mean, with regards to us here, it is the bylaw officer that deals with, with regards to animal enforcement. So, essentially what they're trying to say is that the OSPCA cannot conduct animal enforcement for municipalities, but it can offer hotline for support for police and enforcement officers. They're saying that, we're willing to help, just to give us a call at a certain number that they have there, and they'll provide whatever advice they can.
Okay.
Yeah, they're going more into health and welfare for animals as well, rather than.
Okay, anything else on communication?
No.
Unfinished business, the draft bylaw.
So this is again just a very draft bylaw. We'll have to certainly do more research into determining, again, what points are important for Schreiber to deal with a bylaw on essentially shore road allowances. Now that this is being brought up as a issue, regardless of how the township wants to go forward with the matter of shore road allowances, whether, keeping them unopened, opening them, or closing them, we need to have some sort of policy structure in place that outlines how we're going to conduct activities pertaining to shore road allowances. So this again was just a very general one taken from the municipality of Highlands East, it's near Halliburton, and it just lists, I think, what was important to this municipality in terms of, having in its bylaws. So again, issues of official plan relevance to the bylaw, how to do the closure and conveyance of that shore road allowance. And, the general policy on what they'd consider to, open a shore road allowance. And it's interesting, right? They're saying that, if you wanna have the municipality open it, right? They're saying in this policy, we want you to build the road up to municipal standards if you want us to essentially take jurisdiction over it. So there's various aspects in here, and it's just one example of what I've seen in several different municipalities. But we'll kind of start the framework for us thinking of the policy matters into, again, road allowances.
When it states here unopened road allowances, are we to infer from that the road allowance exists, but it's just unopened?
Yeah, there's
Is that
essentially
really, or are they saying these are things you could do? You could basically open road allowances, like the road allowance already exists. Is that
Yep, it is.
the way you look at it?
There's 3 states of road allowances. So you have, again, the unopened, that is a road allowance that was given to municipalities from the Crown. It is just a reservation of land.
There's
So-
no road there at all. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, there might be no road there at all. It's just essentially a strip of land that's saying that
Right.
you have this in case down in the future you want to build a road on.
Correct, yeah.
So that is an unopened road allowance. Typically, you will see these as unassumed roads. They'll typically have the sign unassumed road. It means that it's not the municipality's jurisdiction to deal with that road. Second state is open road allowances. Once you pass the bylaw to open the road, then it's now your
Defining it
jurisdiction.
as a road.
Yeah, it is now defined as a road.
Yep.
And,
It's an open
yes.
road.
Yes,
allowance.
it's not, it
Yeah.
still may not physically be a road, but it's been defined
Yes,
as a
it's been
road.
defined as
In
a
other
road.
words, this space here, according to our survey, is
Yeah.
technically
And
a
technically-
roadway or whatever,
Yep.
as opposed to a road.
And
Doesn't-
technically, we
yeah.
would have to upgrade it to being a proper road at that
But
point.
there, you've got different levels of upgrades, because you've got like level 1, 2, 3, all the way down to
Yep.
6 being a
Yep.
back lane.
Six
Whereas
is
your,
like basically no
just a
maintenance.
dirt road or nothing, yeah, no maintenance, so in that
I mean,
case.
that's certainly where you'd wanna go with that.
Yeah, well, how would you, because those things, the different levels of roads, like from paved, whatever,
Exactly.
aren't defined, so what would be,
Yeah, I think that's actually defined.
Because if you're talking
not in
about
this section.
liability-
I don't know if that's in the, I'm thinking now whether it's in the municipal act or just in
It's
the
defined
other
by your
bylaw.
traffic.
I think it's,
It's defined by your traffic, your
Right.
speed limit.
yeah. Essentially, we look at that road allowance and try to determine where it falls with regards to the
Mhm.
classification. And it's based on that we'd have to, put in the minimum standards.
Mhm.
That being said, it's, it's safer to pave things and all do it properly and, instead of having.
well, if lots of people are on a road.
Yeah, if you have gravel, gravel roads,
What if you're
for
building a
instance,
road that's an access to like, a box that has to be looked at once a year
Yeah.
by some guy driving up there or something?
And then I think at the very minimal level you'd have what we have at the landfill, for instance. That's on, I think that's on Terrace Bay's property, but that's essentially a compact kind of gravel road.
Mm.
That's, I think, the very minimal that you can essentially get, passed.
You wouldn't happen to have this Highway 6 classification, a printout of what
We can look at that.
constitutes Highway 6 class?
Class 6.
Class six.
Class
Six.
6,
Class
pardon
six
me,
highway.
Have you ever read that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
Yeah, that's why I said it's interesting, because you could say, let's say in this bylaw, the main idea for using it would be to assume a road allowance, but you could have an unmaintained back lane quality kind of road if you wanted to. There's no obligation for you to actually upgrade that to a level 4 or even a level 2.
Right.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the municipality, essentially, you kind of set the standard of how you've essentially treated all the other classes of highways.
Mhm.
So even if it's kind of at the lowest level, but at the lowest level, you've done, you know,
But
very
even
nice
at the
road.
lowest level on a say a
You
back
set the
lane, for
standard for
instance,
that.
there's a lot of
Yeah.
back lanes around that would
Yeah.
be considered like, let's say they're level 6.
Yeah.
Fire trucks still need to go in and out of there. Some people use them for access, for bringing materials in and out for building or whatever as well. And that's still a level 6 road.
Yep.
And there's no maintenance involved, there's no
What,
responsibility
what would you
involved.
call Hill Street then, for example?
Well, Hill Street's funny, because that's, you mean the short one going into the end, eh?
It's
Not
a-
Galena.
It's a paved
Hill-
road.
But it's paved, yeah.
But what level would that be?
That's a paved road, and it has to be left open because there's access to property there all the time.
That wouldn't be, it wouldn't probably be any class.
I mean, compared to, say, Galena Street itself,
Mm,
because Hill Street's like half the width.
yeah.
So
It's really just a back lane that was
Hill
paved.
Street is one
Yeah.
lane, that probably is class 6.
That would be similar to Asbestos Drive
Mm.
from the turnoff from Assembly Street.
well, there's another good example.
It's
right
only
there.
one lane,
down
yeah.
to the,
It's narrowing.
Yeah.
That's a 1-lane road there, paved.
Yeah, and you know, anyway, when it comes down to this, we'd get proper assessment of, you know, the conditions and everything for that road to, you know, properly determine, you know, what level it needs to be. By then, you'd have to do, you know, definitely a survey and everything, so.
Why was this not ever done before, you would have thought, if you're talking, because we're also talking about possible development later on and opening up lots and doing things like that. You would think that something like this would have been in place to prevent issues of access coming up later. It's not mandated that we have to have this, but it's recommended.
It's
Highly
I only
recommended by the
brought
sounds
it
of it.
forward because we've been talking about, like,
Yeah,
again,
because
road
it's
allowances, and it's, you know, part of it was then to look to see what policies we have regarding road allowances, and, you know,
And there wasn't.
we don't really have anything, and this is again to regulate, this bylaw looks at a lot, right, like I said, it looks at a lot, regulating from opening, closing, improvements on it, quite a bit.
Do you feel that that particular example would solve some of our problems and could be implemented here?
I can't solve some of the past problems that were, you know, brought up by parties, as I mentioned, you know, that. But this is meant for any sort of future issues that are brought up with regards to, you know, road allowances.
Like besides shoreline road allowances, where else would this bylaw be?
It could be essentially used wherever we may have any other potential road allowance. It's, you know, I don't believe we have any that are, what's it called? Still any sort of unassumed road allowances. I don't believe that we do, just due to the size of our municipality. I think this is mostly gonna be pertinent to just the shore road allowances.
Yeah, it's not like we have a lot of them, so that's probably why there was never a bylaw.
What's our lawyer's opinion at the moment
Mhm.
in regards to this road allowance?
Don't do it.
Don't
Don't
not
assume it.
do it. Do not assume it either. I mean, what's the reasoning for that?
Liability.
Yeah, I think part of it is the turnoff from Highway 17. Is you would assume that liability of people turning off there.
Yeah. But there's gotta be more to it than that.
Well, that's, I don't know.
I don't know, but it hasn't all played out yet, what could play out.
Yeah, there's probably more, yeah.
It hasn't, so,
Yeah.
and we know what could potentially still happen, and I like the policy statement in this one, kind of. But I was thinking, our planner, Bob. I'm thinking Mark.
I thought it was Bill, yeah, but it's Bob, yeah.
Yeah, Bob, I was thinking, I'm sure he's had a few of these up there.
Oh, yeah, he's come across a lot of
Imagine,
stuff,
yeah.
so.
If he's got, like, I don't
Yep.
mean for him to write one up just specifically for the Township of Schreiber, but
Oh, yeah, the next step would be to consult with him, yeah.
see what he's got, and see if he's our planner, of course,
Yep.
and see what he's got on it, and,
Absolutely, I'd be checking, any sort of bylaw like this, I'd be getting it checked, again, with the lawyer and with our
Yeah.
planner, just because, again, there's just so much involved with roads.
But if you feel this is the way we should go, then,
Like
I did.
talk to Bob about it?
yeah.
Yeah. I think this is a good starting point.
Oh, I
Yeah.
know.
The bottom line is, shore road allowances exist in our municipality.
Yeah.
We need to find some sort of policy that regulates
Yeah, the
opening,
use.
closing,
Yeah.
use, everything like that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, everybody fine with that then? Into other business. The Christmas social. I believe it's for December 6th.
Is that the town one or the?
Yeah, that's the town, ours.
Ours, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're looking at December 6th, so 6 PM to 1 AM. In terms of catering, Breeze Bakery is available for catering and has been asked to prepare a quote for the turkey dinner and buffet dinner. Blaine's Restaurant has indicated that they are not yet catering at this time. If there's any, interest to help with the development of the Christmas party, I'll leave it up to council to see if maybe, 2 councillors gets involved with the recreation program or.
Most of us missed it last year because we were in a meeting, eh?
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's coincided with the meeting we were in, and I think.
That's right.
We were in
Municipal League.
Yeah,
Thunder Bay.
Yeah.
yeah. It was a municipal league thing as well, but yeah.
Yeah, it was moved last year because of the election.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what any thoughts of that suggestion is. Would anyone want to volunteer for?
To do what?
I'd imagine it would be.
Decorate
Help with the
basically the
planning.
night before.
Sure, the planning.
Entertainment.
We're looking at a small group. It'll probably be, I'm thinking in 2 counselors, a rec programmer and myself, look at.
You're interested, Kim?
together.
Yeah, if I can help and you need somebody, yeah, why
Sure.
not?
Okay.
It's not like I'm working.
Anybody else?
Well, I'm on the rec committee, so I guess I'll put my hand up.
Okay, I'll be around. But as far as having meetings, like we'll all be there to, once
Yeah.
we decide what
What to do and
what to do and when to do.
just like Dave said, that Thursday night or whatever,
Yeah. we
everybody
usually get
gets
together and decorate.
together and goes up there and
Yeah.
decorates, whatever.
Who organized last year? Did they have a committee as well?
Be the last council.
Dawn.
Yeah, Don had a lot to.
Had a lot
I'll be
to
there
do
as
with it,
well.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll get it.
Pencil everyone in.
Yeah.
Sure, there you go.
You want to eat? There was also mention last year, wasn't there a fee involved or something in this as well, or am I thinking of a different event?
A what?
A fee, a price, a ticket price or whatever
Oh,
it was?
yes.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah.
Okay, utility billing lottery.
That was my little thing I'm trying to slip in, and you can indulge me for a minute, I'll tell you where it comes from. With winter coming, and with all the talk lately and all the politics and the parties and what people are concerned about and talking about, one of the big things was cost of living. And cost of living, especially when it comes to seniors, just being able to afford, and it was on the debate last night too, a couple of people made the point, where people have to make a decision between paying their hydro bill or their heating bill or buying groceries. And I was sitting here, at some point it just kind of came to me, the idea where we could institute something that I would call random acts of kindness, where we can try as a community to show caring and support for people who are struggling but I'm trying to figure out a way how we implement something, because we can't do it as a lottery, Nathan, you had mentioned, because it would, certain responsibilities and stuff there, but my main concept would be, say from October to March, once a month, we would have, and again, maybe a lottery is the wrong term legally, but people who would be interested, let's say we would know there's certain people or people who would be interested in taking part in this, their name would be selected once a month, and let's say the end of October you draw somebody's name and you pay their oil bill for the month, or you top them up for $300 or something to their oil tank, just something to contribute something to people that are struggling, especially in the winter. And I don't know how to implement it, but it was an idea where I thought the doing of it would promote people to do acts of kindness. But can the town, can we afford it? I don't think it's a lot. Like if you have to do a couple of $100 a month for an oil fill up for 4 or 5 months, I don't think you're gonna spend more than $2,000 for the whole winter to implement it. But it's just, I'm trying to get my head around how.
You have to limit the amount.
Oh, we would limit the amount, and also it would be like, my suggestion was once a month, one person, say 10 people put their name in that month, and they said, well, we would like help with our hydro bill or our heating bill this month because we're struggling, and you know that they are. It's not open to people who are making tons of money.
You're gonna keep track and make sure you choose a different person next
Yes.
month?
Oh, you have to.
You
have to, yeah.
Like,
Yeah, because maybe we only have maybe 8 or 10 people who would even be interested in partaking in it, right? But that month you would put the names in a thing and there would be a draw, and it's like, okay, Mrs. So-and-so, this month we're paying your hydro bill for you, just to show you that we care and that we want to help you out because you're struggling. That's all it's about, just trying to.
well, see, you can't just say we're gonna pay your hydro bill.
Well, we're gonna give you $200 to pay your hydro bill.
Somebody's gonna give you an $800 hydro bill.
No, there has to be a limit, yeah,
That's
no,
what I'm
you
saying.
can't do that, yeah.
Or fill up
You say up
somebody's oil
to,
tank.
no,
You
you
don't
say
wanna
up
do
to a certain amount, no, because then you get $1,000 for an oil fill. But you say up to a certain amount, and then we set the limit, like even if it's $200 or $300. Because one of the things when Nathan and I talked about it, he said, well, he's not sure the town would be allowed to pay off someone else's bill or to give out money. But every Christmas we go around and we give people $25 for the best house decoration. So I don't see it being much different of that. And essentially that is a lottery where we go around and we pick a winner and we give them something. So the idea is that
But we just do that once.
every month for the next, for
No,
6
no,
months during the
just
winter.
The Christmas thing.
Oh,
you
yeah,
just
no,
mentioned.
yeah,
We
yeah.
only do that one shot.
Yeah, we only do it once, yeah.
But,
But no, I'm not talking about filling someone's oil tank up for the whole winter, because that's crazy. Just like, say you put a limit on it, whatever we decide, $200, let's say.
It would be hard to define who's eligible and who's not.
Well, we put it out there to people who'd be interested, and then we could, you can pretty well tell,
Well,
let's
the whole
say.
town would be interested.
Yeah, but you already set a limit on it, like you set some stipulations, if you're making over 20 grand a year, you're not eligible. If you're, whatever, working for the Blue Wave, you're not eligible or something like that. It's just a little thing that displays as a township that you care about people who are struggling, and you're just trying to give something back almost, or trying to say, look, we got you in this, we're holding your hand and just get through the winter, because it is a struggle, and every political party this last 2 weeks of campaigning has all been about a lot of things like that, where people have to make decisions between buying groceries, paying your bills, and it's just something I don't know how we implement it, but it's just something that I'm thinking about that would show the really positive and help a lot of people. And again, I'm not talking about a full oil tank every month to somebody or anything like that. You set limits, you set criteria, who would be allowed, how we would define.
That would be the hard part, to set the criteria.
Yeah.
It would be, how would you determine the factors and how would you?
Well, you could start by saying, the town wishes to implement random acts of kindness, blah, blah, blah. Every month we will be helping out to a total amount of eligibility, must earn less than this, must make less than this, whatever. And you specify the terms and conditions. I just thought it was a nice thing to try and do for people, so. And I
And
think
like
we
I
should
talked to you
look at
just
it.
from the implementation perspective, I'm just, wondering how we could do something of that nature, right? Because like when we're talking about the community improvement plan, which is all about giving grants to businesses, stipulated in the municipal act that it's, despite municipal bonusing, they will essentially allow you permit it because we get everything we do, we have to, pass the bylaw that says, the section of the municipal act permits us to do so. So I think,
CIP is also gotta be approved by the government.
CIP, all of those programs and all are essentially the CIP process, right? All the programs that we state get approved by the government. So in terms of, maneuvering the legal minefield, it may prove, quite challenging. I don't know if there's examples of other, municipalities that
They
have done something like
They
this.
sometimes do them through charities. They establish a charity and then do something like that too.
I don't think anybody's dead against it, Kim, it's just we're gonna have to. put
No,
the
how we
thinking-
can do it. That's what I wanted to propose, is how we could do
Put the
something.
thinking caps on and think about it.
Yeah, how we can make
See
it.
what we can come up with.
I don't think it's just gonna be hard to implement.
No, when I talked to Nathan as well, it sounds like the implementation could be hard, but it's just an idea for a proposal now that winter's on our back step.
It's just that we're so overly regulated, right, with every aspect of what we can do, that it's, we essentially need to find the place in the bylaw that authorizes us to do it. And that we had that same challenge when we were looking for, how to, again, help businesses, right? And it was, the only way you can do it to essentially is through a CIP, which is kind of like a competition process. of Who gets the grant that helps them with their facade, for instance, right? It's a competition with that regard. So
We wanna go away with this and think about it and,
we'll have to do some research.
Like, you'd have to determine if there is any regulation against forming a charity sponsored by the municipality.
Yeah.
Can we do it by law?
The easiest way really is a third-party organization, right? That's not a municipality, but is like affiliated with the municipality.
Or would it be funded by the municipality through the rate, through taxes?
Then it becomes difficult, right? And that's the same thing with municipalities been looking at, for lottery licenses and all. And that was a great way for, the municipality to fundraise and all, but all of a sudden it was like, nope, can't have even the library, for instance, fundraise and give that money back to the municipality, right? So we'd really have to look at, the kind of complex ways of getting something like this done. And
But certainly a committee or a business could do it. Like any business could say, okay, we're now gonna donate $200 a month for the next 6 months, and everybody wants to partake, these are the rules, regulations. Our seniors committee could also do something like that and hold fundraisers and stuff like that. But I would just thought if the initiative came from the municipality, it has a little bit more weight to it. And it might also just make people appreciate what we do as well.
yeah.
okay, yeah, something to think about. It is something to think about, for sure. Yeah.
Okay,
Okay, next up, the water project Christmas lights. You wanna talk on that?
Michael mentioned that.
Sure.
Who's
It
climbing up
was,
there?
you, who's up?
They're gonna shoot lasers from the ground up.
No, it was,
Need fall restraints.
all it was the citizens Schreiber, and I know they approached a few of the other council and Dave too. But all it is they wanted to know if they could have one of them display of lights that you see on the houses now.
Yeah.
They don't expect anybody to climb up or
Yeah.
anything like that. Just a display of lights.
Projector.
Yeah, off the tank, they thought
I
that would
think
look, they thought that would look cool along
Yeah.
with our tree. They're not saying anything bad about the tree is Schreiber, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
Just to put some more color,
Yeah, I agree. That'd be-
just to put some more color up there, and I talked to Red about it a little, and,
Yeah.
to see
Yeah,
what
because
it
there's power up there,
Mhm.
so, you just have to plug something in.
is there a commercial type
Yeah.
reflector kind of thing to make it
You're talking almost
bigger
like
and
those
better? I don't know.
projectors that project onto the front of the house, the
Yeah,
patterns
yeah,
and things,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's all. They
change the
you
colors
just
of the dots,
basically
so-
set it somewhere and plug it in and
Yeah,
walk away.
nice
Forget
white
about it.
background is perfect.
Perfect.
Because I know I wouldn't be going up in a tank.
Not to hang them, no.
The power's there on the Schreiber sign, is it on all night?
Oh, yeah, there's plugins up there too, there's a little building, yeah, there's power up there, for sure.
I think it could be a cool thing.
I think so too, yeah.
Just a thought, just to put some more color out there.
Yeah, coming down Walker Lake Hill, that would look sharp up there.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All
We'll have to talk with Aqua to see if they could give us the go-ahead.
But you're not physically attaching, if you do it, Kevin's
Yeah.
thinking,
Well,
you're
I
not
mean-
physically attaching things to the tower,
Yeah.
you're actually projecting onto it. and
Oh, no,
see how
that's
that-
definitely worth it, it's there.
Yeah, make sure that we can.
Yeah, for sure.
And then only because they have, essentially, they'd have insurance for the whole water tower, so.
But they don't own the water.
They don't own it,
Yeah.
it's just their insurance.
So we can shine a light on
And
it.
I think that would probably be
Yeah,
fine.
probably be able to.
That's
Everybody's
all
fine with that?
right.
Yeah, we'll get some more information
Good
and
idea.
possible cost and bring it
I
up for
don't
next
know,
meeting or something.
I don't know, but one of them machines that
Yeah, we'd have to
can't
look
be a
at
heck
it.
of a lot, cause you see them around scrap
Canadian
cans.
tires is really
I was thinking more of
Maybe something bigger.
a commercial.
Yeah.
Whether there is such a thing, I'm not sure.
We can look into it and find
I
out.
should have looked into it.
We'll have to talk to our friend Ray there, and he's always got.
Something, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Probably.
Good idea.
Okay, Thunder Bay District Municipal League Conference. That's October 25th and 26th, right? I believe.
Yep.
Have to go up the,
You'd have to go up the night of the 24th. It
Yeah.
starts at 8 o'clock in the morning
Yeah.
on the 25th.
okay.
So who all wants to go or who's available?
How many do you wanna send?
Well, we usually send everybody if they can go.
We all went
Thunder Bay,
last year.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was our first one.
That's, yeah, put me down.
Is it just once a year?
Yes.
Yeah, this one is.
Yeah, I'll go. October
5th, 26th, but you probably have to go up to 24th.
Okay.
It
Yeah.
starts at 8 o'clock in the morning, so.
Was that roughly the same, or no, must have been November last year.
It was
It was
December.
It was
Was it
December.
December?
Yeah.
They
We
moved it
missed the
because of the
Christmas
election.
party.
Oh, that's right,
Yeah, remember it was our first one we went to it.
So it's the same as that, basically.
And it's at the Prince Arthur, we stay at the Prince Arthur, which will be.
That was the one at the Prince.
So is everybody
Okay.
available to go?
Yeah,
Doug?
yeah.
I would like to go there,
Yeah.
yeah, if everyone's gonna go. Saturday is only the half day again,
Yes.
so we go up Thursday night, stay up all day Friday till whenever,
And, yeah,
half day Saturday back.
and back home Saturday afternoon.
Okay, and it's only Thunder Bay, so.
Well, I thought the 25th was Saturday and Sunday, 25th, 26th.
25 Saturday, 26 Sunday, yeah.
No,
No,
it's Friday,
25.
Saturday.
25th is Friday.
Friday,
Okay.
Saturday,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah.
Very
Will you
good.
remind us, Cecile, on the?
Yep. I'll book-
Okay.
Because I always take you
I'll book the rooms and do the
reminders and
registration.
floats, paste them in there.
Then, it brings us up to adjournment.
Nope.
No?
Volunteer
Little
recognition.
thing, yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, forgot. Volunteer recognition.
I put that on there, it was, I'm looking at the Christmas party and my mind started thinking about, okay, I know on candidates night, it was, we were asked the question, what, you know, what as counselors we could do to recognize volunteers in our community other than the Christmas party, so. I know we have talked about it briefly at our economic development committee meetings, and we never really brought anything forward, but I just thought, I mean, there's two ways we could do it. I guess we could bring it back there and then come up with something and make a recommendation, or we could, you know, talk about it here and see if we have any ideas how we could recognize our volunteers, because I think it would go a long way.
Are you talking about recognizing, like, say, picking a volunteer of the year, or recognizing all the volunteers with some kind of?
All volunteers, like some kind of a luncheon, or invite them all to a luncheon, and, you know, just something informal. Just to show appreciation.
And we need to build up more volunteers, so it would be
Well, I think
good
it's,
to,
I mean,
people want recognition sometimes.
I mean, people, we did have some very good people stepping forward this year and helping out the community in all our activities. Can we get better? I'm sure we can. How do we do it? I mean, that's the key to the whole thing, but we need to recognize the people that are actually doing it.
Well, probably the important thing is the people you want to be there, or you know, to make sure you've invited, or however you're gonna do
Yeah.
that, people who think they ought to be.
Yeah,
You wouldn't wanna miss somebody.
that's right.
So that'd be a bit of a challenge in itself.
Well, I think it wouldn't be too hard to determine, I mean, just to use your network among the committees that are running right now, and understand who's been volunteering. I mean, we could figure it out that way. And then just send out an invite. I don't know, just thought I'd throw it out there, get people thinking about it, and, I mean, I can, maybe what I will do is bring it up again at our next Economic Development Committee meeting, and
Maybe get some ideas.
maybe
Dan,
we
as
can
to
come up
what
with
they-
something and make a recommendation to
Make a
council, we can do it that way,
recommendation to council, sure. I
and
think
then we
that
can
would
say
be-
yes or no to it.
Yeah.
We can do something, but we got,
I
because
think
it
we-
builds
I think it's
builds
important
goodwill
that
as
we
well.
get this done before year end.
Mm.
Yeah,
You know,
sure.
and I don't want it to flip with the Christmas party.
This is on top of the Christmas party?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people, my gut feeling is a lot of people aren't, you know, may not wanna go to the Christmas party, or they may not feel comfortable, they might wanna do something else, you know.
Okay. Sure, well, then you can bring them back at the next meeting then, Dan?
Yeah,
Or, you
we'll
know,
make the,
whatever.
well, it might
Yeah.
not be the next meeting, whenever.
Yeah, that's-
Might be the one after that, so,
Probably the first meeting in November,
Yeah, okay.
yeah.
tend to meet economic development at the end of the month.
Yeah.
So we're running out of time here quickly, but anyway.
Yeah. Okay, thanks for that. Then, resolution number 337-19, moved by Councillor Mullins, seconded by Councillor Stefurek, that the meeting now adjourn at 8:35. All in favor?